Greetings. Welcome to Hockey Nights in Vegas, the post-Game 7 recap. My name is Eddie Rivkin, along with my co-host Joe Payne of the Las Vegas Advisor. Joe, before we get to that, I want to share a funny little story with you about fans and the media and things like that. You know, sometimes we give the Golden Knights fans a little bit of a hard time.
Sometimes?
A lot of the time. And we give some of the other writers a bit of a hard time, which we're definitely going to do later on when we break down Game 7. But couldn't sleep last night, and I decided to go splashing around on The Athletic, and I found my way to the Minnesota Wild post-Game 7 recap article and
Interesting
comments. Let me just say, for being the state of hockey and supposedly really super educated about the game and everything like that, they were a bunch of whiny bitches. And it was really kind of amusing as I laid in bed with Gigi and just sort of muddling my way around. Even the take from their writer was kind of shocking, because I read most of his stuff during the series, and he seems like a pretty sharp guy. But he said that the game turned when Brodin got hurt.
Oh my God.
And I was thinking, wow, that's like spectacularly ridiculous that he thinks that one game turned on one injury. And then, I mean, just the premise is silly. Injuries happen, right? And they happen during the game.
Don't we know this as a Vegas Golden Knight follower?
And we certainly do. You know, in this series, he said, well, the game turned. And I'm like, well, you know, what do you think the series would have been like if Pacioretty played from Game 1?
Exactly.
You know, or McNabb didn't have COVID, or Reeves didn't miss a game before COVID, or right. Peyton Krebs didn't break his jaw. And I'm thinking, you know, this guy Russo, he's a pretty good writer. He seems like a pretty astute hockey guy, but he just totally fucking homered. And the comments, oh, Vegas is dirty. Wait till you get your asses handed to you in 5 by the Avs. And oh, that Ryan Reeves hit, he should have got 5 minutes and suspended. And I just have to say, it was incredibly refreshing at 6:30 in the morning to listen to an entire fan base of paid subscribers whine like little bitches because their team got their ass handed to them last night. So with that being said, let's move on to our take from Game 7. Asses were puckered tight throughout the fan base. The pundits were kind of split if the Vegas Golden Knights could actually close and score goals. We had a whole bunch of unsung heroes. Go ahead, start, Joe. Tell me about Game 7.
Well, what I did find interesting, you know, with the new COVID restrictions, and they got us split up and spread out in the press box a little bit, but I happen to be around. I'm not going to tell you who the two writers are, but one is a very knowledgeable hockey guy, and the other guy, I guess he's okay. Both of them, we were having a three-way conversation before the game started, and they were
go on, keep going. I need some water.
They were both convinced that Minnesota was winning the game. They said Vegas didn't have a chance. All the momentum was with Minnesota. And I looked at them and I said, you don't think that, and I didn't know the exact numbers, but I knew that the Vegas Golden Knights had a lot more playoff experience than the Minnesota Wild had going in.
Like 300 more games, I think, across the lineup, something like that.
Yeah, the Minnesota's got like 922 playoff game experience, and Vegas Golden Knights had like 1259. And Minnesota had 9 guys that were playing in their first Game 7. And Vegas only had 1 guy playing in his first Game 7. And that was Nick Hague. And Nick Hague scored a great goal. I mean, he scored a perfect goal off a face-off win, by the way. I mean, I don't mean to
stop it. Face-offs are not important, especially in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
You believe that also too, don't you?
Oh, yeah, yes. I'm absolutely drinking the Kool-Aid. There's no way that a game could turn around on a face-off win. It's absolutely impossible. Yeah. And you know, It's just one of those things. It's just a useless statistic.
Yeah, I don't even know why they keep track of it.
I mean, a statistic like 42 out of 62, and
you win the faceoff.
No.
You win the faceoff. You get possession of the puck,
and you score a goal.
No, and that happened twice last night. Once for Minnesota and once for Vegas. Carlson wins the faceoff cleanly out to the point. Nick Hague puts it in. Back, the Vegas Golden Knights are killing off a penalty. Minnesota wins the faceoff. Zuccarello takes the puck behind the net. He suckers Stone in, passes it to the Russian kid who Fleury never had a chance on Kirill's shot. And there's two key goals. One that made this game 2-1 and one that tied up 2-2. They literally came off face-off wins.
Forget it. It's impossible. There's no way that face-offs could be.
Oh, okay.
It's impossible. It's just.
I should hook you up with another guy who believes the same thing you do.
Well, maybe we'll sit at his table and he can take our order for dinner or something like that. But anyway, I think that the key to the game wasn't just Max Pacioretty being in the lineup. Well, let me rephrase that. The key was that he was in the lineup. I want to say that better. He brought the structure back to where it was. And even though Tomas Nosek wasn't in the lineup, Patrick Brown has been more than above average when it comes to filling in 4C. But just Pacioretty returning to the lineup, it was just a different Golden Knights team.
And I said, it's kind of the title of my article. I have two titles to today's article that just got published. And I said Pacioretty balanced the team out. What he did is by him coming in the lineup, it made Tuck go back down to the third line, which made that a viable line. And you saw what happened. That line was excellent last night, not only because Yanmark scored 3 goals, but Waugh had an excellent game. Tuck speed was just, and again, the speed of Tuck was giving Minnesota Wild complete fits. Has been the whole entire series.
Well, I mean, this is the lineup that Pete DeBoer has been banking on. This is basically the full. And again, we'll reference Nosek as being injured, but 11 of the 12 forwards and 5 of the 6 defensemen. That's as close to being healthy as the Golden Knights have been in a very, very long time. And they're actually going to go into round 2 healthier than they went into round 1.
Well, so, that's based upon no injuries suffered in this game that we don't know about yet.
Correct. I mean, we saw Martinez take a real nasty hit, and I don't know if he broke his nose, but he was certainly leaking. And took a trip down the tunnel.
And Marchessault looked like he was hurt his arm in the third period. Petrangelo took a huge hit from Greenway late in the game also. They were trying to target. They were getting a little nasty, and I was actually surprised that the game ended the way it did. I thought there might be some after effects, but Minnesota just decided to keep the puck in their end basically the last 45 seconds of the game. Didn't even make an effort to bring it down to the other end of the ice. Based upon the fact if nothing major is wrong other than your normal ice bag welts after a playoff game, you're right. Vegas goes into round 2 healthier than they started round 1 with.
I want to give a couple of honorable mentions that I have not seen mentioned anywhere in the media. The first one, Nick Holden. I mean, he plays a game in a month. He's arguably one of the best locker room guys, teammates, never loses the positivity. He gets called on in the most random of times, and he literally just shows up, and he was absolutely rock solid on D for the last 3 games of this series. And
I couldn't agree with you more.
I know that Pete DeBoer mentioned him briefly in the post game, but that's a guy not just for the 3 games in his performance, but he deserves a real solid shout out just for being the team guy And then when you factor in his performance in the last 3 games of the series, just absolutely kudos to him.
Yep.
And the second one is kind of an easy one, but Matthias Yanmark. Yes, hat trick aside, yes, they were the only goals that he had scored other than an empty netter early in April or something like that. But he was with the Golden Knights for 15 games prior to the playoffs. Right. He's played up and down the lineup. He's been on the PK. He's been on the power play. He's been, without the statistics showing up on the score sheet, he's been every bit the utility guy that Chandler Stevenson was last season when he arrived for the Golden Knights before he found his home on the first line rather. And those are the reasons, things like that the Golden Knights showed up in Game 7 and pretty much dominated the game for most of the game. I mean, again, they gave up 21 shots, right? Kudos to them. They could have easily puckered up and not played loose, but for whatever reason, Pete DeBoer said, listen, this is just the game that everything we've done for this year has led us to. And they came out and they showed that they were the better team, and they are the better team.
Yeah, I mean, it went 7 games, and I had said it would probably go 7 because I knew that we were probably going to be missing Pacioretty for at least the first couple of games. I didn't realize he only was going to play 1 game out of the 7, and we saw the difference that he made, not only contributing offensively, but like I said, and you've alluded to, is what he did is he allowed DeBoer to really rotate and roll 4 solid lines last night. The forecheck was there. The top 9 forwards were basically all over the ice. And the 4th line pretty much did what their job was to do, and that was to, have the Minnesota defensemen looking over their shoulder as they went to retrieve pucks deep in their end. I mean, even though Kolesar was out of the game because Reeves went in, Reeves went into the 4th line. Pacioretty came back into the game. Kolesar was out. We didn't miss Cole. I mean, Kolesar has been a real good player for the Vegas Golden Knights, but last night we didn't miss Kolesar. Matter of fact, everyone played, I think, about as good as they could have played in that game last night. Fleury really wasn't tested that much. I mean, he got beat twice, but both goals that he got beat on, one they left Parise sitting all alone in front of him. I don't know how that happened.
He could have pulled up a chair.
Yeah, exactly. And he literally, without even looking, put it between his legs and it went right. I don't think Fleury was even ready for it, and I don't think Fleury realized, oh my God, he's standing in front of me. Where are my 2 defensemen? They were up high in the defensive zone. I don't know how Parise snuck in behind him like that. I don't know, but Jack, that goal
but he did make 3 or 4 really clutch saves, especially toward the end of the first period when Minnesota looked like that might have been devastating if as dominant as they were in the first period. If Minnesota would have gone into the room up 2-1, the complexion of the game, that's the word I'm looking for, complexion of the game might have been significantly different. And he did what he was supposed to do.
And there was a segment in the first period, I think 2 to 3 minutes into the game, where Minnesota had the puck in the Vegas end for a while, and they were moving the puck around. I mean, Vegas got off to a real quick start. The first 2 minutes of the game was Vegas, and then all of a sudden, Minnesota had the puck down in their offensive zone.
Yep.
And they were moving that puck around pretty good. And I was like, uh-oh, this is not good. Because, the first goal in playoffs, in a playoff game, is very, very important.
Especially in Game 7.
Especially in Game 7. I think the statistic is the first team to score in Game 7 won 135 games and only lost 46 games.
Yeah, it's astronomical. It's like a 700 something. Yeah, it's astronomical.
So the first goal was important. We got it, but then Minnesota responded quickly. Then we got Hagen.
Wait. Not as quickly.
Not as quickly as
normal. I remember I sent you a message literally after the net was still shaking. I go, this next shift is kind of important.
I know. I saw that.
The Golden Knights have had a little bit of an issue with
enjoying
the view and then getting a goal scored on them right away. So it went about 4 or 5 minutes, I think, till Minnesota scored. So I think that was important.
Actually might have even been a little longer than that. But the point is, they scored and caught it up, and then Vegas scored and Minnesota tied up, and I said, oh, this is going to go back and forth. This is going to be a 1-goal game, and then all of a sudden, Vegas just completely took over the game.
Okay, but in whole, taking the whole game, did you ever feel like the game was in doubt?
No. When Yanmark scored the first goal, I had a good feeling that the building was loud to begin with, and when Yanmark scored that first goal, I mean, it just erupted.
It seemed to me that the game wasn't ever really in doubt. And that that sounds like that's an assholey homer kind of thing. But if you watch the game without bias, and we criticize the Golden Knights when criticism is warranted, and we praise them when praise is
we pretty much tell it like it is. We don't wave pom-poms here.
From the couch, it never felt like Vegas was out of control in the game. They had a couple of lapses in the D zone, and they got a little globetrotted by the Wild. But in the sum of the entire 60 minutes, the game never really felt or never really looked to me like it was getting away from them. You know what I mean?
I think Vegas pretty much had a lid on that game the whole entire game. Yeah, Minnesota tied it up 2 different times, but once Pacioretty scored, it was just all downhill for Minnesota after that.
And Vegas dictated the play. They relentlessly carried the play to the Wild, and that is, I think that a ton of that has to just go to the fact that Pacioretty was in the lineup, and Pete DeBoer got 99 out of it, 98 out of his 100 bullets in his gun, and he just decided. And we've talked about it before. I'm going to roll 4 lines at them, and I'm going to pound and pound and pound and pound them until.
Right. And what was a key factor last night, at least in my opinion, is Vegas was able to move the puck out of their zone quickly and often. There was very little forecheck by the Minnesota Wild. It was almost like they were just going to sit back and try to play a neutral zone trap and not press. They were not going to press Vegas at all as far as the forecheck. And Vegas took advantage of that and pretty much, was skating the puck out of their zone freely and almost at will. They always had the puck. It was back. Minnesota would get one shot and Vegas would get the puck and going back the other way, and that was my take on the game. There was very little forecheck as far as Minnesota, and on the other end of the spectrum, Vegas had a very strong forecheck and had Minnesota pretty much scrambling in their own end to get the puck out.
Oh, I forgot the one other kudo that needs to be passed on that gets a little mention. Nicholas Waugh. Nicholas Waugh was an absolute beast in this series.
I actually made him one of the stars of last night's game in my article today.
He doesn't show up on the score sheet a ton just yet, but he has big game experience. He won the Calder with Charlotte against the Chicago Wolves a couple of years ago. He is absolutely a trusted player by Pete DeBoer. He plays in all the situations, but he was absolutely merciless on the forecheck last night, and it was even more evident than it normally is. The third line, it's a different look when they have the three players there that they want, and so Nick Waugh, Nick Holden, and Yanmark, unsung guys.
Unsung guys, exactly.
Right.
If I were to say to you before the game, Eddie, name 3 guys that you think are going to be instrumental in Vegas Golden Knights winning tonight, well, last night actually. I can almost guarantee you
None.
the Yanmark, you would have never mentioned Yanmark. You would have never mentioned Holden. You would have never mentioned Wah.
No, you would have gone with Marchessault, Stone.
Stone,
You would have gone with, you'd take the easy
we didn't
ones.
even know until Pacioretty came out for us that he was even going to play. They pretty much kept that on the wraps.
Right. And one last note, if you saw his post game,
Pacioretty?
Yeah, we saw Pacioretty. We absolutely know it was a concussion. When
he
said some days I felt great and sometimes some days I didn't feel as good.
Yeah, that's a sign of
that. Listen, that's as close to some truth as we're going to get from the Golden Knights. And to me, if you said you have $100 left, you have to bet it on what it was. It's an absolute lock that it's a concussion for sure. Absolutely.
And I thought that, but the only thing that threw me off is he also added in his post-game comments, there were people behind the scenes who were looking after him almost 24 hours a day.
That's it. That's concussion protocol. It has to be. It has to be. Okay. They got through. There was that lovely whistle that I've referenced in the last two podcasts of people's sphincters unpuckering. And we're on to round two. Not much of a turnaround. 5 o'clock
Sunday.
5 o'clock Sunday. 5 o'clock our time. Game one against the Avs. Arguably, well, not arguably. It's certainly the series that everybody, all the pundits have wanted to see. The best two teams in the NHL are now playing for the number one seed in the Final Four. The winner of that series will have home ice throughout the playoffs because they reseed the four division winners, 1 versus 4, 2 versus 3, with the Golden Knights being 2 and Colorado being 1 in the regular season. The winner of this series, if it comes down to a game 7 in the Stanley Cup Finals, it will be in their barn. Right. So let's talk about the upcoming series. The recap is real easy. 4 up, 4 down. Fleury had 3 wins. Leonard had 1. Grubauer had 3 wins. Some other guy that they had in that one day had 1. Statistic.
Isn't Dubnyk their backup?
Yeah, he is, but I don't know did he get the 1 win? Anyway, statistically, the teams are incredibly even. It was 18-17 in goals. The big difference, the one statistic that stands out is the Golden Knights penalty kill was at about 94.5%. And the Colorado Avalanche's power play against the Golden Knights was at about 5%. So to me, the only thing sad about this series is that it should be much later in the playoffs with a lot more on the line.
I wrote in my article today that I think it's unfair that, if anything, these are the two teams that probably should be playing for the Stanley Cup.
At least for the Western Division side of it, the Western Conference side of it.
And you and I go back pretty far. We remember the days when the 16 teams were just slated.
Sure.
1 through 16, 1 played 16, 2 played 15.
Yeah.
And under that situation, if the NHL was still using that format, the only way Vegas would play Colorado would be in the Stanley Cup final. And that would be probably that would be, in my opinion, those are the two teams that should be playing for the Stanley Cup final. But ironically, they were going to be playing head to head, and one of them to get knocked out in round 2.
Yep. And that's the biggest disappointment. So
now
let's talk. Go ahead.
Before you go any further, you said that these teams are pretty evenly matched, but if you look at the sports book, they don't agree with that. They've got the Avalanche as a pretty big favorite in this series. They got them at -160.
Good. I haven't had many opportunities to bet the Golden Knights with a plus next to them.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's surprising because, we talk gambling sometimes, you and I. That's a fairly naive, seems to be a fairly naive take. They seem to weigh heavily that the Avalanche blasted the Blues out in 4 and the Minnesota Wild took the Golden Knights to 7. That's the Golden Knights Wild Series going to 7 should be a surprise to nobody that knows anything about hockey, regardless of the regular season stuff. The team, it's a system thing, and Minnesota was very well equipped to beat the Golden Knights, especially the depleted Golden Knights. So, you know what? I throw out the first round results. Let's look at what the teams did against each other, because that's how I would, it was 4-4 against 4-3-1. But statistically, the Vegas scored one more goal. They had more shots. They had a better power play. They had a significantly better PK. And, the bookies still have it as Colorado at 5-2 to win the cup, and Vegas is out to 10-1 or something like that. And I wonder if that's going to change a little bit now that they got through. But if you tell me I can have Vegas at 130, plus 130, something like that.
Or you're going to get them at more than plus 130, Eddie. And what I think is happening is I think the sports books are listening to the NBC sports announcers.
It's almost like
they're in love.
They're the betting partner of NBCSN.
They're in love with the Colorado Avalanche.
And you know what? That's great, because you know what? That goes right up on the bulletin board. Every time Sharpie and Ace and every time that they say Colorado is the God's gift to hockey, and Rupp and Weeks and all those other guys.
You got to listen to Pierre Maguire literally kiss their ass. He oh my God, Colorado this, Colorado that. These guys are incredible. I mean, stop it already.
Okay.
Stop it already.
So I'm gonna put a ticket in. Well, we'll get to the predictions at the end. I think that the series comes down to one thing and one thing only: which team imposes their will and plays the game that they want to play. If the Vegas Golden Knights can't contain Colorado through the neutral zone and allows them to use their speed game, the Golden Knights are going to lose. If the Golden Knights can force Colorado to defend in their own zone, and the game becomes even smaller than the already smaller playoff ice, the checking stays really tight, the game is much more physical in nature, I'll tell you that the Golden Knights will win this series, and those will be the telltale signs in however many games that it goes. It's that simple. You can look at the 8 games when the Golden Knights couldn't stop McKinnon skating through the neutral zone. They lost. When they bumped and grinded and checked and hit the young kid Makar and hit every single thing in sight, the Golden Knights won. It comes down to that, in my opinion.
I think there are 2 keys right now, as far as I'm concerned. And I think Vegas actually holds a huge advantage in game 1 because they are in playoff mode already. And Colorado pretty much had a walk in the park against St. Louis, and has been off for a while.
You're not afraid of a letdown after a game 7?
No, not right now. Not right now. What the game I'm afraid of is game 2. No, I think Vegas, I'm going to go out on a limb here. I think Vegas wins Sunday. I think they win only because I think there's 2 things. One is obviously, is Bettman going to change? The other key is Bettman going to change Kadri's suspension? Is he going to lower it?
He can't. He absolutely he can't.
He can take it to an arbitrator after Bettman too. You know that, right?
Yes. If Bettman says no, he can proceed to an arbitrator, but the series doesn't stop.
Exactly.
If Bettman lowers that suspension, and the Golden Knights happen to win the cup, he better have a security detail if he comes to team. Seriously, if that would be the ultimate horseshit homer bias maneuver ever for Kadri, who's been suspended 3 or 4 times, including multiple times in the playoffs.
3 times this is his 3rd time in the playoffs.
Right. I mean, seriously, the guy's got a wire that's loose, right? And every now and then, and it happened in Toronto, it's probably the reason that they shipped him out of Toronto,
I-
or a
I-
good
I
part of the
firmly-
reason.
I firmly
Right?
believe that's one of the reasons he's no longer with the Maple Leafs.
So no, I would go double or nothing on our pizza that Bettman gets out of the way of this and leaves it at 8, which keeps Kadri out for the first 6
Game 7.
Right,
So
the first 6
if,
games.
If it goes 7, yeah.
Right. So what's your other key?
My other take or other key?
You had 2 keys to the series.
Well, 2 keys to the series is the Kadri suspension, whether it gets lowered or not. Because if it doesn't, he's only available to Game 7 if they get to a Game 7.
Right.
The other key is I believe that Vegas is right. When you said, are they going to be let down? No, I actually think they're going to ride a wave of confidence and emotion, and they're in that mode already. They're in playoff mode already. Where I'm repeating myself here, but Colorado's been sitting around, and you cannot simulate game-like conditions.
Right, in practice.
In practice, you can't do it. The key is there's going to be I think there's going to be a back-to-back game because the first game is Sunday, and from what I understand, Game 2 is not till Wednesday, which means when they come
2 days off.
Yeah, which means when they come back, there's probably going to be a back-to-back at T-Mobile to try to catch up.
No, I don't think so. I think that the 2 days off are to help the North sort of get into.
No, it's because the Denver Nuggets have a game on Tuesday at the arena.
That's what the extra day is for?
Yep. The Denver Nuggets have a playoff game scheduled for Tuesday. I think it's called the Pepsi Center or
the Ball Center or something. It was the Pepsi Center for a long time.
Yeah,
but,
yeah. That's the reason why. That's the reason why Game 2 is Wednesday.
I don't see a scenario. There's still, today is the 29th of May. They're still way within their window, even with the bumpers that they've built in. There's no reason for them to be a back-to-back. I mean, we haven't seen the schedule from the NHL just yet. We just know that it's Sunday, Wednesday, and we expect a 6:00 start Wednesday night. But I don't see a reason. I don't see there being any sort of time pressure for them to have a back-to-back. And if the back-to-back was at T-Mobile, I would prefer it there than at altitude.
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking maybe they. So you're saying that they're probably going to do a Friday, Sunday game?
I think so. They got 4 series going. They've got the Isles, Boston starting today. They've got
Montreal, Toronto's tonight also.
Right, but that's a first round.
That's the first round.
So they could conceivably go another 3 days, right? Monday, Tuesday. So if they play today, they would play again on Monday, which means they would start Game 1 on Wednesday, the North next round. Tampa, Carolina starts tomorrow, I think, as well. So
there's only 2. We're talking. I'm confused. So I haven't gone to bed yet. So tomorrow to me is
tomorrow's Sunday. I think Tampa. So I don't think so. There's no reason for back-to-backs once the North gets Toronto gets through. I mean, the Toronto Montreal winner gets through, because it would be nice to see Toronto pucker up and get stretched out a little bit to 7. So we're working at warp speed, you and I. We're only 35 minutes in. The goaltending matchup, Fleury and Grubauer, right?
I don't see how Fleury comes out of the net. I don't, unless there's a back-to-back right now. Unless there's a back-to-back game, I think Fleury.
It's his
net.
And it's certainly Grubauer's net, because Dubnyk has not been stellar since he's arrived in the Colorado Avalanche, with the Colorado Avalanche. Say that 3 times fast. Any other keys to the series? I mean, obviously for the Golden Knights, it's stopping McKinnon, Rantanen, and
first line.
The first line.
The first line. And the kid on defense, McCaw.
Right. I mean, so in Colorado, Bednar has the last change and will keep the first line away from Mark Stone. In Vegas, Pete DeBoer has the last change, I would expect McKinnon to have nightmares about seeing Mark Stone. I mean, do you think that there's going to be line matching going on?
I don't know. When you talk about line matching, and I'm going to get to Pietrangelo here now. He's just having a really tough time. I mean, I don't know if he's squeezing a stick. Any of his clearing passes have not been there. I mean, he's giving away the puck quite often.
He's certainly struggling. He's struggling. So maybe it's Martinez Theodore that sees more of that.
Yeah.
Than the McKinnon line, and Pietrangelo sees more 2D pairing against whoever is in 2C for Colorado in place of Kadri, the second line. Yeah, but I agree with you. In the defensive zone, Pietrangelo is definitely struggling.
Yeah, and we don't want Pietrangelo to be saying, "Oh boy."
We don't need to hear that.
When McKinnon's picking up the puck in the neutral zone, I don't need to hear McKinnon go. I don't need to hear Pietrangelo going, "Oh boy." No. What does that mean? Oh boy, you're supposed to be the top defenseman in the league. You're supposed to be like, "Come on, bring it, let's go."
So boy, we're gonna wrap this up in under 40 minutes, just because our good friend Lan has committed to us. She is committed to watching the entire podcast. And since we brought her up, we're not going to tell her we mentioned her. So if she doesn't say something to us, we're going to know she lied.
Right. Because Lan, by the way, we made this real short today.
Just for you. Okay. It's prediction time. You want to go first or second?
I want to go second this time.
Okay.
You always let me go first. I'm deferring age-wise. I'm going to, since you're older.
Yeah. No, it's youth before beauty. I'm going to say, and I believe this from the beginning, that the Golden Knights are better suited to win a playoff series against Colorado than they were against Minnesota. I think it's an easier matchup, and I'm not saying Colorado's a bad team. They're an outstanding team. I'm talking specifically about matchups, style of play, and the fact that Colorado prefers not to be physical, and the Golden Knights will be physical. So I'm going to take the Golden Knights, and I'm going to say it doesn't even get to 7. I'm going to say 6. They're going to win. They're going to win at home in game 6.
Yeah, as ironically, I was going to say the same thing. I thought the Knights, who have never closed the series at home until last night, were going to do it two series in a row. But I don't want to make the same prediction as you, so I'll go with 7. I'm going to say the Knights in 7. They win a game on the road to get to the Final Four.
So you think they're going to win all 3 at the Fortress and game 7 in Colorado? Think they're going to lose 1 and 2? You said they were going to win game 1.
I think they're going to win game 1. I think they're going to lose game 2. I think they're going to split at T-Mobile, and then they're going to win game 6.
5 and 7 or 6 and 7.
I don't want them to have to win 6 and 7. 5 and 7. They'll win games 5 and 7. So they're going to win 3 games in Colorado.
Wow. That there, ladies and gentlemen, is a prediction with balls of steel.
Balls of steel.
Balls of steel.
Or as my grandfather would say, Giuseppe, you got a coglione, so this is big.
Okay, so Joe likes games. The Golden Knights in 7 winning 1-3 and 1-5 and 7 in Colorado.
Yep.
Wow. Balls of steel.
Balls of steel.
Balls of steel. I'm going to stick with
Eddie. I grew up in Brooklyn.
I grew up in Detroit.
Okay.
I'm gonna stay with 6. I think that they are the Golden Knights are the better team, and that they're built to win this series by out muscling them continually, game in and game out, and frustrating the the skill and the speed of the Avalanche. So that's it.
I will tell you this before you leave. I actually hope that your prediction is correct, because I'm not ready for another Game 7.
Your old heart.
I'm too old. I'm too old for this. You know, and Land is not offering any nursing services for me. So I hope you're right in Game 6. But Land, this is short for you, because you know why? Because Land is
short.
What? Here we go.
Perfect. We will come back to you after games 1 and 2. So you'll see us on Thursday, June the 3rd. Thank you very much for joining us as always. We love when people click and like, and we especially like when people send comments, good, bad, or indifferent.
Yeah, if you don't like us, you can tell us.
That's okay, because we're not going to wilt and we're going to reply. So if you got something to say, go ahead and say it. Fire when ready. Neither Joe or I are wilting flowers. So congratulations to the Golden Knights.
If you fire a rocket at Eddie and I, expect about 6 to be returned.
So congratulations to the Golden Knights. They certainly slayed a couple of dragons by beating the Minnesota Wild in 7 games. And on to Denver we go. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you again in a few days.